Hello and welcome back to the Foxy Property Chat podcast. Welcome back. It's been a very, very long time. Probably 6 months, you reckon?
Yeah, to be close to that.
Since we've done a proper podcast with you two, both in the same podcast. So you two, we have Jake and Phoebe. How are we on, what is today? Tuesday, the 29th of October.
If we could hurry this up, I've got places to be. No,
yeah, I know you always do.
Finally, we've got time to do it, yeah.
Yeah, so in this podcast, we'll just be going over a bit of an update. Obviously, a lot has been happening. Mm-hmm. A lot has happened. We'll be talking about a little update on the conference. We have a question. We teased another business. I don't know what we can go into here, but we'll at least I'll put the question to you guys where we're at with announcing that. I've got some Q&A. I'll put a question up on Instagram stories asking for questions, and people came back with some questions. And the sort of overall theme of spring and learnings and takeaways from spring. So let's jump right in. I'm going to start with things off with a bit of an update. So no real question here, but I guess in the last, let's just say 8 weeks to 2 months, what's been happening? A lot has been happening, right?
8 weeks to, it's
I was
been
going to say,
crazy.
but before we go into that, 8 weeks is two months pretty much, but yep.
You always add little random
I'm sorry, I mean, you've got to be
annoying.
specific, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll go first. The biggest one is that we are in a new warehouse since the last few months anyway, since the last podcast definitely. Mm-hmm. We've definitely put some videos out, so for those that follow us on Instagram, I guess they would have seen a bit of that, but that's been a huge undertaking.
Yeah, we are going to do like a proper warehouse tour. I think we're sort of waiting for everything to get finalised. We're getting there though, right?
Yeah. Which is it's pretty much all done now. There's a few things just to improve still, but
the warehouse is pretty empty though, but that's going to change pretty quickly.
Yes.
Everything's either out or in boxes to be built to go out at the moment. But
I kind of want to see the third shelves start to fill up.
I don't know if I do, but it's definitely going to make things trickier.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Ladders,
at least
and
from
then
a marketing point of view. It looked cool. Yeah.
So new warehouse. We've got a new truck has just arrived, and a lot of new people. What else?
Yeah, lots of new people.
It's been crazy busy. So we've set lots of records. The Brisbane market's been awesome. It is. I don't know if we're going to talk about this later, but it's slowing down. But it's been a very busy, very, very busy 2 months for the business. We've got.
We've also moved a few people, like internally, like a few new people we talked about, but there's also some kind of promotions and people moving internally that we have done over the last few months, just to give some more senior leadership roles and more responsibility to people who've kind of stepped up and have been with us for a while. So
so we're sitting at about 35-ish people. I mean,
37 by now.
37,
with a couple. Like it's a little bit. We hovered around between 30 and 35 for a very long time. And I think in the last 2 months we've gone above that, and we've still got a couple of positions we're looking to fill.
And it's not like we have a HR department. You guys are the HR department, so
payroll's getting a little bit
Jake
of a bigger
not
task.
Part of that department.
Yeah, so Phoebe is the HR department.
Jake doesn't get to be in that department.
Clearly very busy. And to go along with that, we are progressing with the conference as well.
We are. So we've started promoting and locking speakers in, which was step one, and then actually starting to do some marketing and some promoting about that. So that'll be good. Thank you to those who've bought tickets already. But it's going to be awesome to see that one come together as well.
Yeah, I think we've announced the first 3 speakers now. I posted the third one, Jason Cunningham, today. And the fourth one will go out later in the week, probably Thursday I had that planned for. And then we're also going to we'll update the website with the speakers and a little plan around the pricing schedule as well, because the prices will right now $750 for the main ticket, which includes the night out on the dinner.
Yep.
This year it's included on Yacht Club, which will be incredible. Once we hit I'll just announce it now anyway, the November the 11th, it'll increase to $800, and then I was going to do January 1. I'm like, no, that's just ridiculous. Let's let people at least get a chance to come back sort of to work. January 13, they'll then rise again to $850, but we'll give lots of notice around those increases.
Awesome.
So that's definitely coming along. Let's just jump into that question we had, because there's been a couple of people really following the little teaser videos we've done, and they're like, when's the next teaser? And I didn't think people would actually care.
Calm down on the pregnancy thought, because there are no more children happening. Yeah. 0 more. Yes, the Foxy
have we had that
pregnant.
as a comment?
Multiple.
Yeah?
Multiple.
Yeah.
Yes, as Sass even, Sass Property Styling,
Yes.
met Sass, yes, she even reached out a second time to
Yeah,
ask.
baby
Alright.
Foxy.
There is no baby fox. There will be no more baby foxes from us.
From us at least, yeah.
Or me, I made sure of that this time last week. Still feeling the effects, by the way.
No more baby foxes on the horizon for us. But we do have one of our staff having a baby fox.
Yeah.
She's in the new year, but not from us. All right. Do you want to go into it?
Well, so someone just asked, Lou asked what's happening with the new biz / old warehouse. So however you want to approach that, I don't really know what.
No, we can.
We can
it's sort of the
we did say
marketing
we
on that's
have-
been hush hush, but
Yeah.
let's go into it. So,
Okay.
We have
Anzac
not
Day
organised.
weekend last year, we got a phone call. So for those who don't know the Brisbane market, a lot of stylists in the Brisbane market hire their stock, and it's very different to what I would say Sydney and Melbourne are, where most of the stylists actually own their stock. We made the decision to obviously own our stock early on, and it was something that actually was an incredible decision as far as making our business achieve what it has to date. Anzac Day last year, we got a phone call to give us a heads up and see if we want anything to do with it, actually, to let us know one of the biggest hire companies in Brisbane was actually closing their doors. Now, that presented an incredible opportunity to us. By closing their doors, they took out 40 different other stylists who,
More than that.
who would hire stock for property styling, obviously, and they very much focused on those properties that were sort of the $2 to $5 million range. We had at the time very much established Foxy to look after all the properties sub $2 million. We have since now sort of moved that to go sub $3 million, and we do have the stock to do the $4 or $5 million property, but I need notice on those ones, and they're very specific. So Foxy is very much focusing on those ones, and we had this amazing opportunity present itself to us because this gap was created in the Brisbane market that there wasn't a company to service that gap.
Not in the way that somebody like us does it, at like more of a scale, more of a team, and owning all your own stock and doing it at that sort of level where you have a lot more control over things like logistics, your furniture, all the people, everything that goes with that.
Now you add into that the timing, so obviously the end of April, if we were going to capitalise on that opportunity, we had to be prepared for spring. So we were prepared, and we made a decision to jump in very deep, and we've started and launched a second business. Now, when I say launched, our marketing tactic on it is, if you know, you know. It's very hush-hush, and it's actually been successful doing it that way. We've been actually very excited as to knowing when somebody's been referred to us.
Somebody reaching out that we've not mentioned it to, who's heard it from another agent in the area.
It's actually really exciting. I like
wants
it
to
that
know
way.
more about it,
So
Works for me. I don't have to do anything.
we will have a proper launch, like a whole very exciting, more marketing push come early New Year. We have it. We wanted just to sort of test the waters for the latter half of this year. So that business is called.
Are we saying it?
Oh, yeah.
All right. The new business is called Arctic Interiors, and the other part of that question was the warehouse move.
Oh, hang on.
Okay.
You have to explain Arctic.
Okay. No, I kind of feel like that's an inside bit of info a little bit. That's a nice thing. But I'll share it. So basically...
I feel like it's
I feel like the
pretty
people that-
easily understood.
yeah.
I feel
Yeah,
like you
okay.
can make the leap.
Well, so when we were talking about this, and I think I was sitting at football with the kids one morning, texting Phoebe, and we were trying to come up with ideas. We wanted it to be something that kind of spoke to the prestige and the high-end feel to it.
Yeah.
But we wanted it to be linked to Foxy because ultimately it's our business. A lot of the DNA of Foxy will be in this new business as well. So we wanted something that tied it together. So Arctic came from the Arctic fox, and that's where we settled.
Hence the black and white logo that everybody has seen that looks like a little pregnant mummy fox, but it's not. It is a more prestige offering to the market that really is backed by everything that we've learned over the last 7-8 years to make it as an amazing experience as what all of our Foxy clients have.
And so the last part of that, just very quickly, we've moved warehouses. We've kept the other warehouse, and that is going to be the warehouse, or is the warehouse for Arctic Interiors. It's 2 minutes up the road. It lets us share things that we need to share while keeping it separate stocks and separate processes. And so it's still running. We're sitting in the Foxy warehouse at the moment, but the other one is being used for all the things to get that business off the ground.
Perfect.
Yep. And
There you go.
website, Instagram, social media stuff is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the works. All right. You sort of touched on it earlier, Phoebe. What are you hearing from agents, or what are you? I suppose we do enough work ourselves, but but spring and then leading into Christmas. What are you hearing? What are you expecting? What's going on?
All right. So the market was really, really strong start of this year. We were seeing incredible turnarounds. And that has really started to soften. The market for units and townhouses, again, was super strong at the start of the year. We're still finding that the market for that townhouse is actually going one of the ones that are still selling in a good amount of time. The more prestige, acreage, more unique properties, as well as the family-sized homes, so something more like 5 bedrooms and 3 livings, they are now having to extend out. So we've been seeing this for a little while. So the indicators for us were there that we could see the market. There is a lot of opportunity. So we've seen that as well. We've been incredibly busy. We're doing a lot of properties every day. So there is an overwhelming option for buyers on the market right now. And the impact of that is seeing the market draw out that little bit longer. So where we were seeing settlement, a removal of the property and the styling unconditional dates happen the 5-6 weeks, definitely by the 6 weeks. It's now stretching out to be more like 9 or 10 weeks. So we're definitely needing to do an extension just on those particular properties. The bigger the property, the more likely it is needing to have an extension. And that does it. It sort of doesn't matter if it's Gold Coast or Brisbane. We're seeing it either way, and it's very much backed by all the agents that we're having the same conversations with.
And we expecting Christmas, just typical Christmas well, that kind of changed up a little bit, hasn't it?
We're not sure what to expect.
Yeah.
So COVID flipped Christmas on its head.
For the 1 year.
For that 1 year.
Yeah.
Where, if we rewind back 6 years, everybody took Christmas off. Not just Christmas. There's some agents that wouldn't even come back until February when school, like just after school went back. I don't think we'll see that. I think we'll still see everybody back in January. We have jobs booked already for January. We've got a lot of inquiry already coming through for the new year. So I don't think we're going to see significant slowing for the new year with agents taking off that 6 weeks. But everybody always shuts down well-deserved break for that time, at least that 2 week period. We've got a whole lot of houses to get back though.
Lots of pack-ups.
A lot of
All
backups
three of
due
us are
before
going
then.
on holiday and leaving the space to fill up with others.
Love that. The podcast needs a break. We can come back for one episode. It's hard work. All right.
Get your questions in for the February episode.
Yeah, February episode. Get in early. What is one thing that has surprised you, or that you've learned from this spring, this year?
I've got one that is not exactly a surprise, I guess, although it's something that I think we've done it in previous years, but this year's really hammered home for us that spring for our industry is always the busiest time of the year. We always, as a staging company, we're always trying to keep up with what's happening in terms of enough stock to service everything. Do we have the logistics capable of doing the number of jobs? Like, it tends to be one of those times of the year where we're stretched. But what has really kind of been nailed home for me, at least, and I think you want to take a lot of these phone calls and emails, is that we are getting a lot more inbound inquiry from agents in particular who have had their stages not be able to keep up with them. And while that's always been the case to some degree, I think this spring has really made me, I was thinking about it the other day, and spring isn't just a time where you're busy and you make a lot of your money for the year. Like, that's where you do the more work than the rest of the year. It's actually the period of time that sets you up, if you handle it well and you take these opportunities, that set you up for the rest of the year. So right now we're taking inquiry from agents who we normally wouldn't do work for. We're doing a job here and there for them. It's not about trying to steal agents or ask them to give up on their other stager. We're the backup stager, and we're okay with that for certain agents. But what it does is, if they get let down in the future, they know they can rely on us. So it's really about building reputation. And the reality is, a business like ours that's at the scale that we are, we're capable of saying yes to a lot of things that others can't. So this sort of scaled business really benefits from this time of year in particular. Would you've taken a lot of those, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually, the impact of what we were just talking about before with the market softening and the extensions happening, the smaller businesses having their stock tied up, is seeing them literally tell a client on the day of that they can't service the job anymore, which is I can't even
or
imagine
things
how
like 4,
difficult that
5,
would be.
6 week lead times, which just doesn't work for a lot of clients.
Yeah, so they're the ones that we're sort of definitely being reached out to help. And I guess my learning is so we had a 1 week. Right now, we've got a 1 week lead time. Anything longer than that has a significant impact on our clients. So learning to manage that without overextending what we are doing as well. Man, I bought so much stock. I had so much.
I thought you went way overboard,
more.
and we're still running low on certain things. You're still making
still
orders
not
now.
Prepared for spring.
Yeah.
But we made it work, and we have some amazing suppliers that make it happen. So, still buying stuff as of even today. So.
Yeah.
How important are those? I mean, the answers vary, I'm sure, but can you just maybe expand on it a little bit? How important are those relationships with your suppliers? Because I imagine you're able to call someone up and say, we need this. How do we go about making that happen? Is that the reality of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's I guess it's the same way as having a developer client come to me and ask me for a discount when they do their first install with me, and that's not the way it works. You need to establish a relationship. So it works two ways. So that's how I sort of approach a supplier relationship, that if I can show that they have my loyalty, and then maybe once a year in spring in particular I push on that relationship a little bit, they make it happen every time. So we've got some really amazing local suppliers that give me really great deals for floor stock, and now that I've got reps there that they just text me through, so I didn't even need to go on site, that only happens by building on those relationships over the year. I had another one that needed literally all their outdoor clearance, the stock cleared, and so they called me and gave it to me 50% off the wholesale price. Like I can't possibly get that without having that relationship there.
Didn't you clear half a store out last week?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, that
one. All of their outdoor, they needed gone, so they rang, and it's amazing. It's absolutely gorgeous. I couldn't have got it. It's completely sold out, and they did a great price for me.
Love that.
Yeah, I do too.
All right, some questions from Instagram. How do you deal with late cancellations? That was the question. Take that however you want.
Late, I guess an install cancel. I guess.
Yeah.
To be honest, that doesn't happen very much. I would like to say that if I have a truckload, I should say this because Jake's next to me. If I have a truck loaded, realistically there should be a fee that's taken for that, right?
Our terms and conditions,
75% fee because we've already done most of that job.
And the terms and conditions that we get our clients to sign allow us to do that.
Yeah.
We've never done it before though.
The only time that I have that as an example of late though is a property that literally flooded the night before, and it doesn't sit okay with me. We did send them a bill. They didn't actually end up paying it, but I don't really.
We didn't chase it.
We didn't chase it. So late cancellations aren't really a huge thing. If they cancel for us within the 24 hours beforehand, before we've even started looking at the job, like we haven't actually spent any time on it, so it's not actually right to take any of that money, and it does actually get replaced pretty quickly by another job.
I was going to add to that and say our scheduling, you'll do a draft schedule 2.5 days out.
Yeah.
There's never a time where that schedule stays the same.
No.
So we have constant changes, not in huge ways, although sometimes that happens, but there's always changes. That's part of what we do is we're flexible, we make things work. So honestly, when we've got 9 jobs in a day, if one of them cancels a day and a half out, it's almost like it doesn't even register. We fill it quickly, or we take the opportunity to do something else, or spend, you got a bit more time in the warehouse, we do a furniture pickup. It's one in a small amount of jobs, and we get on with it, really. What about when we turn up to a job and they're not ready? That's probably the more difficult one.
Yeah, and I guess that's what would happen more often. And generally, we're trying to find a solution where we can actually leave the furniture on site. So we try to get the furniture, and it's generally by a miscommunication. A cleaner's rocked up and done the carpet cleaning when they shouldn't have, or they started pressure washing the driveway or external wash of the house. We've gone to a couple where the developer thought it was ready, the builder told them it was done, and they're still painting internally. And we've got a very blanket rule: if there's painting internally happening, then there is no install that's going to happen. Now, if we can get the furniture into the garage, and it's safe and it's not going to get impacted, awesome, and we'll come back and do an install with just 2 boys later. If we need to redo the install, it honestly depends on how much of an impact it's had on our day. The only time that has actually happened where we've had to take the furniture back off-site is one for a developer where we've done so many installs that to me that relationship is more important than charging them for that one job.
Yep.
So normally there's a way a workaround that we can.
And
find.
we also have 4 or 5 trucks running, so something like that, if you only had the one truck, would cause chaos for the rest of your day. We can generally change something and make it work.
Yep.
What is the cost to extend staging hire on a weekly rate if property is not sold?
That's a huge question for sure.
So we generally do it on we have our upfront 8-week hire. We generally divide it by, you can ask me why, and I don't really have a perfect answer for this, but we divide it by 7, and that gives us a percentage that kind of, and we round it up or down depending on the type of job, where it is, things like that. But essentially we do it at a percentage which sits between 10 and 15%. That's, from what I understand, maybe on about where most of the market is, maybe a little higher than the rest of the market. We almost never have any issues with that though when we do charge. We don't have people question that. And that sits well with us, so that works.
It needs to make sense with that furniture staying out, but also it hasn't sold. So you want a successful outcome for that client. You don't want to necessarily take it away. So that's...
And that I should say as well, it's not that we just went, we'll make up a number. It was when we started the business, we were hiring furniture, and that's roughly what they did, the company that charged us the extension rates if we had to. So we did the same thing, and we've stuck with it because it's where, it doesn't seem to be... It's something we're comfortable with, it's something that our clients are comfortable with, and it works.
Yep.
Haven 5 Home Staging asks, how do you work in breaks with your staff on site, especially when you have photo deadlines?
All right, so the girls,
that
is definitely a tricky one. The girls, office staff take care of their own. That's obviously really easy. The stylists on site, they're generally only doing the one install. And so, for example, we had one this morning. She went out, did an install. She's got a consult this afternoon, so she's left a little bit early so she can go have a lunch break. Now, on site, the girls they won't have a lunch break on site. They'll come back to the warehouse. Most of them get back to the warehouse around 2 o'clock, between 1 and 2, and they'll have their lunch break then. If they wanted to slow down and have their lunch break while they're on site, I'm more than happy for that to happen, except most of them wouldn't do that because they just want to get back to the warehouse. They are all free to take their lunch break when they would like, but it's totally in their hands.
Yep.
How would you respond to this objection around home staging? What if the property my home doesn't sell and I have to move my furniture twice?
So out for the staging and back in afterwards, I guess?
It's just it's an objection that I have read. And how would you respond to that if someone was to say that?
If you've read that, I don't think that's how it's meant. I
how
think
would
it
you
means
read that?
An integrated style where they've moved out half of their furniture and then they've got to move the other half later on.
Okay. Well, there's a couple of ways to take it, I guess.
So they're talking about if it hasn't sold.
If it hasn't sold,
and they're going to move it. I would have taken that as it's got to move it back in. But I guess either way, the question is, once we move our stuff out, the property hasn't sold, so they're still either living there or it's still looking like it is either half full or empty. What do we do? Or what do they do, if that's a question? That's a you sort of thing.
Well, I've never had it phrased the way that you phrased it. I've had it when I'm going into an integrated.
Where did you read this, Cody?
When you're going into an integrated and you're asking them to put half of their stuff in storage, and then what happens if it doesn't sell? I'm moving half now, and then I need to move the rest of it later. Is it worth getting a removalist fee? I may as well just empty it all out now. So it's honestly always going to be down to the property, but I, in those situations, will always suggest to the client that I send through both options so they can see if it makes sense to get there. If it's going to be a bed, that makes no sense to get a removalist back to remove a bed. You may as well take it all out. We charge $15 for a bed. Who cares about that? It honestly depends on how much is left in their property. If it's a time-based scenario where they're going to waste their time getting it to the garage only to get it back in, but that's a very big unknown. Are you willing to risk that much of a return on investment and not going ahead with it just to invest your time to get rid of the furniture into the garage?
Yeah, well, that's kind of what jumped out of me. Is it seems like more of a
is this going to work?
It's more of a fear thing. Yeah. What if this doesn't work? Well, if you're going down the path of selling and you're going to try and get the best result, then that shouldn't be the reason you don't stage, because then you're less likely to get the result you want. So part of that conversation would be, to give it the best chance and to make sure that we get the buyers we want, and you want the same, the right sales campaign, then that's what you need to do.
I'll be honest, I haven't had that. And I think for a long time, because now when I'm doing a consultation, I preempt it. Knowing that obviously 4 kids, we've got a 3 living area house, 5 bedrooms. That's a mighty task to get ready to get for, like, and then also having the house staged while you have kids. That would be horrendous. But I sort of take that question away by saying, look, I'm going to send you through a checklist. The checklist is going to tell you what I'd like to use, what I'd like to hire, and then obviously what I'd like to see off-site. Now, I can definitely send you through a storage recommendation. If you need a hand to get anything off-site, I've got a remove list that we can definitely recommend. They can come in, take it all out. They can use the checklist. You just need pop post-it notes on everything. They will do it all for you. So I preempt it by giving them the answers. So the question's not there. Yeah. It's not a negative. Yep. We used to offer that as a service. We can't possibly offer that during our peak period, but it's something that we've got answers for. So I think by taking it away, I don't get it anymore.
Cool, perfect. And last one, how involved are you in the day-to-day of Foxy, and how has that changed, your roles changed over the years?
Very.
Yeah.
It's definitely changed how much, not how much, the things that we're involved in, but we're both still very involved day to day. Neither of us go on site a lot anymore. So I guess that's one of the changes. In the start you're involved in every job, or you're involved in even, when it started to transition for you, for instance, you maybe were going out on site less, but you're still involved in the selections a lot, whereas now that's quite rare, or it's like for particular jobs or at certain times if there's a reason for it. I've been out the last 2 days for a job each, and that was the first time I've been out in quite a while. So I'm very involved in the warehouse side of things, the database, the numbers, the logistics team, but from a organisational point of view. I guess I would describe Phoebe and my role differently, but a lot more about logistics and organisation than anything else. It's about organising 4 or 5 trucks and 35 people and 10 installs and 8 pack-ups in a day, every day. So I think a lot of what we do it comes down to that. And then I guess you've got some other, you can probably add to your day as well.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But I had a text message come through a real estate agent yesterday. It's actually the job you're at. And she congratulated us on running a really tight ship. She said we had amazing staff, but they all knew their place and knew what they had to do. They did it happily, but it's just... there's obviously a way that it's done, and they all know their place and what needs to happen, and she congratulated us. Now, that can only happen by having... we're very separate. Like, Jake looks after more of the logistics side and warehouse side. I'm more internal, looking after stylists and as well as a lot of the admin side of things, except not numbers. And I think that only comes by having someone ahead of both of those sides of the business who knows what's happening. And then I've got zero to do with the marketing that's run by somebody else. So making sure that I hand off what I am not good at, even the things you asked me to do, I still don't get done doing.
It's all right, we're here doing a podcast.
6 months later. Yeah.
But the thing, I'm very much more admin, HR, a lot of conversations now with this with the team, doesn't matter what side, actually where they are in the business, and those conversations with clients that need reassurance, basically knowing that I am here. They're not going to see me, but I am here, and then they have a direct line to me if they ever need. So that's pretty much my role now. And buying all the furniture.
And I guess I kind of answered it, but like in terms of what's changed, it just changes depending on what's needed in the business and what team you have to support you. Being the stylist on site was the first thing that would go to somebody else, and the marketing. We got Cody in quite early, so things like that you do until you don't need to be the main person anymore, and then you're just a support person in those capacities, and what you do, it just changes.
Well, there were weeks when I first joined, and say Steve, who was in the truck, it was away, it would be you and me in the truck, and Phoebe on site at every job, and we'd literally just be out the whole day.
Yep.
Yeah, it changed a lot.
The other thing I think is also, as far as the time, the physical time. So there were days there were Facebook Lives, whatever you call them, that I would jump on and do like a 5 a.m. selection in that old warehouse. I haven't been at the warehouse at that time in a very long time. I generally start my day at 9 o'clock. Today I started at 10 because it was traffic. But I still do nighttime work, but the amount of time I'm actually spent doing stuff here is very different to what it was to start with. So I guess that on-site, hands-on time is very different now.
Absolutely. Okay, that's it. Thanks so much, Jake and Phoebe.
Not a problem.
And thanks for listening, watching, and we'll see you in the new year in February. Thanks, guys.
See ya.